there is a theory that something stirs deep in the human psyche, a nameless darkness that yearns for a return to the void, a psychological phenomenon that bordered on the spiritual world, that terrified men like Sigmund Freud. In this video, I will discuss how this force gave birth to the gods of death, inspired countless vision quests, and is now still trying to carve a path into the afterworld. Prior to World War I, Freud developed some fascinating ideas about human psychology. A strange thing always seems to happen with our greatest minds. They take gods, archetypes, forces of nature, and cosmic forces, and put them into these human-esque god figures and relate them. And Freud's idea of Eros was no exception. Eros, who was the Greek god of love and the son of Aphrodite. And to Sigmund, this figure represented the life instinct, which he believed drives individuals towards survival, pleasure, and creative activities. Rooted in his broader theory of instincts, Eros encompasses sexual drive also, and love, and the urge to create and sustain life. Freud saw it as a fundamental force that fuels human relationships, reproduction, and even artistic and intellectual pursuits. But just after World War II, while studying the behavior of traumatized soldiers, Freud saw a pattern in repetition, compulsion, and something beyond this Eros concept that's supposed to be present within all human beings. The trauma and shock of war seemed to have given these soldiers a strange compulsion. They seemed to want to go back and relive the traumatic memories over and over and over in endless repetition. This force within them seemed clearly bent on self-destruction rather than life. He began to realize that this unconscious drive toward death was present in almost all human beings in some form, and he named this the death drive, or thanatos. According to this new theory, deep within the subconscious mind was a deep desire to return to inorganic matter, to become inanimate, and it accounted for behaviors that went against the life drive, like aggression, violence, and self-sabotage. The Thanatos moniker was also of Greek origin, but it wasn't a god. Thanatos was more of the personified spirit of death, depicted with a somber expression, with a sword, or sometimes even with an inverted torch. In Greek, it literally translates to death instinct, and it's also related to a Sanskrit word, meaning it vanished. But are we really secretly obsessed with death? How strong can this urge, this death drive, truly be? Some of our routines and rituals are strangely in line with this, as we often seek and confront death in early life, or times of transformation in the form of the vision quest. A sacred journey, a rite of passage. It was present in almost all ancient cultures, and still prevalent today in a lot of native cultures. It's typically undertaken by adolescents entering adulthood. It involves spending time alone in nature, often fasting or meditating, in search of a personal spiritual revelation or connection to the greater forces of the universe. The goal is to receive guidance, insight, or a vision that provides clarity about one's purpose, about their identity or their future. It's almost like an emptying of oneself, so that one can contact and communicate with the void, the nothingness out there. But so many of these myths and legends about these rituals include something else, something that takes them even closer to that liminal space between life and death. Psychedelic toxins were also employed, aiding in the desired visions and insight. As terrifying images ebb and flow, the ego is minimized. Sensations of astral projections, as if the soul leaves the body, and encounters with cosmic or even angelic beings, are a way of experiencing death and being able to come back. To me, this is one of the ways that we seek the spirit of Thanatos, a way to satiate the death drive without committing fully, to glimpse the sublime edges of the great mystery. But one does not even need drugs to have these self-destructive, death-seeking tendencies. We have them all the time. We sacrifice our long-term success for short-term pleasure, despite having dire consequences sometimes. I've noticed that on an individual level, there seems to be this great temptation to take down civilization itself, the civilization that we made. There's this growing reliance on all the benefits and technology that civilization provides. And mirroring that growth is the waxing dissatisfaction with that same system. Many are only aware of it on a subconscious level, feeding a massive nihilistic cloud that has been permeating the collective unconscious. Look at the fear and threat surrounding nuclear war. It's been decades since the Cold War ended, and we're still talking about it all the time. AI is another perfect example of this, especially in the last few years with the developments. It's almost universally agreed upon that the capabilities and duties and responsibilities that we're sort of delegating to AI is extremely dangerous for civilization at large. And it also seems like the ones that are most afraid of this technology are the ones helping develop it. Some may even say that this is the result of one of the old gods returning, resurrecting himself, reincarnating on the earth.